everyone, welcome. I'm Nick Altieri. I am the owner of Music City Notation here in Nashville, Tennessee. I am a music preparer, an orchestrator, and arranger. Super excited to have you joining me today as we dive into a new series that I'm starting here on YouTube called So You Want to Be an Arranger. It's an awesome, fulfilling career. It allows you to be super creative. And if you're sort of like a music nerd like me, it's the perfect job. It's sort of, in today's world, it sort of blends this technology and creativity all into one. It's obviously, as you can tell, my passion, and I love it. And hopefully the things that I've learned along my journey to getting to where I am today can help you guys, whether maybe you're an educator and you're writing some music or prepping some music for your school band or orchestra or string ensemble, or you've got a recording session coming up. Hopefully some of the information that I can give you guys in these videos can help. And that's really what I want to do because, I was lucky to learn from some really great people, but not everyone has that opportunity to go to music school, or maybe they live in an area where that's not super accessible. So yeah, I want to try to help you guys as much as I can. So yeah, today we're just going to jump into sort of the basics of what music preparation is, how we set up a score, what is important information to have in that initial score, basically just how to get writing, how to start, from the beginning. So before we jump in, please, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications for these videos so that if you're, wanting to get the latest and greatest from what I have going on, you always are aware as soon as I post a video. It also really helps me out a lot. So without further ado, let's jump in. I think the best place to start is from the ground floor, which is probably where many of you maybe are already, which is just working on a lead sheet. So we're going to start in a notation program, and I think it's important to talk quickly about what that is. And notation software, common ones are Finale, Dorico, Sibelius. Those are sort of like the big three. There's also MuseScore and NoFlight, which are free. So if, you don't have a lot of cash, or you're just kind of getting started into this, like writing your own music down on paper, I definitely recommend going with the free option. MuseScore is super, super great for what it is. It has a lot of the features that much more expensive programs like Sibelius and Finale and Dorico have. There's obviously a lot of options, subscription options available for Sibelius and Dorico. There's education discounts, so if you're a student, make sure to take advantage of those. They're super, super awesome. So yeah, let's jump in. I'm going to show you this process in Finale because I feel like that's probably the most used standard, if there is one, for music notation. That term I feel like has kind of been skewed recently, just because there's so many great programs out there. So I think Finale, though, is a good place to start. I think a lot of you guys are using Finale probably. So if you're not, actually, let me know in the comments below what you are using. Let me know what notation program you are using. So, all right, we're going to jump in here. So I have a Finale session started here. For this, the best place to go is just to go to the setup wizard. It's going to let you build a document from scratch. You can see that I have some, custom ensembles here that I've built, but these top ones are pretty much all the standard options. So for this, we're going to pretend that none of these exist, and we're just going to create a new ensemble. We're going to use the standard Finale Maestro font. That's the best one, in my opinion. There are some fancy ones out there. You can buy fonts, but if you want your music to read really clear, don't use any sort of crazy jazz font or anything. Just write the music on the paper. That's my best advice. So yeah, we're going to use Finale Maestro as the document style. For this, we're just going to use standard letter paper for the score in portrait, and the part size can also be 8.5 by 11. You can see there's a lot of other options for orchestra style parts, and Europe has different page sizing as well. We can dive into that in a later video, and we definitely will. So once you've got all these items selected, we're going to hit next. For this, I'm just going to use a single treble staff. I think that's probably what most of you guys are going to be writing. So easiest way to do that is to just select blank staff, add, and then next. For title, I love to do placeholder text. I think it helps to really get the perfect layout going really early on. A lot of people leave it blank and it'll just autofill like title or whatever, but I do this. So I type in title, I type in subtitle, I type in composer, I type in arranger, I type in lyricist, and then I type in copyright. Oops. And then that way, when our score opens up in Finale, it gives us the opportunity to see where all that information is. And then as we change it, it'll be reflected in the score, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. Also, if you don't have a name for your tune yet, you can just write title, and that way it reminds you to like go back and put it in. For this, I always put, for a lead sheet, I always start in 4/4 in C. Actually, for a lead sheet, you may actually want to hide the key signature and show all accidentals. It really is up to you. But for today, we'll get into a later video why that may or may not be beneficial. But for today, we're just going to leave it in the key of C. And then I always specify an initial tempo marking, but it just puts it in a place for us that we can go back and edit. I don't add a pickup measure unless I really have an idea going already that I know is going to need one. If not, I can always add one later. And then the number of measures, this is where I feel like a lot of people mess up. In Finale, it's a kind of a pain to add a bunch of measures and like have to think about that later. So it's always easier to delete measures. So for a lead sheet, I don't envision anyone needing more than like 100 bars, but I put 150 bars, 150 measures. That gives you so much to work with. And that way, when we're done, we can just delete whatever we haven't used. So pretty standard setup here. Select finish. Boom. You can see I have a note performer, which is like a add-on sound library. And we can just get to writing. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save the file. I know that's probably counterintuitive because we don't have a name, but for this, I'm just going to do Shift Command S if you're on a Mac, or Shift Control S if you're on a PC. And I'm going to just save it to my documents as, demo, Finale, lead sheet. Save. So cool. So now we can start writing. Couple ways to write in Finale and in most notation programs. You'll see on the left as I'm dragging these a little bit closer so we can kind of focus our view here. We have different tools available to us in this, what's called a tool palette. So this section up here in the top right corner, we want to use to actually help us write what we need on the paper. I don't get super into formatting the music beforehand, but for lead sheets, I do one thing. I will set a number of bars per system. So we know that a bar or a measure is one of these, right? That's one measure, one bar. And a system is a whole line of bars together in one line, for those that don't know. Okay? So I always start by highlighting the entire project, so all 150 measures. I do a Command A, and then I go to Utilities and Fit Measures. You can also use the shortcut Shift Command M. I lock the layout to 4 measures per system, and I'll explain why in a second. I leave treat multi-measure rests as one measure. In a lead sheet, you're not going to really have any multi-measure rests, so that's not a problem. And I apply it to the current part or score and the whole score, all measures. You can either do all measures or highlight everything. It works either or. And then I hit OK. And so what that does is it sort of gives us more space to look at what we're doing, right? It fills up more of the paper with less music so that things are spaced evenly. It's more comfortable for our eyes to see. Also, in a lot of popular music, things happen in 4 or 8 bar phrases typically. So if you're in a band that maybe you're in, like, you play weddings or you're, doing that kind of corporate gigs and stuff, and you play a lot of tunes where you're writing like verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, whatever the order of the tune is. This is a really quick way to like copy and paste that information in 4 bar increments, and it all sort of fits the eye and the form of the tune. The other thing I do, which personally really annoys me, and it's a personal thing, and also a lot of orchestras and people at the professional level tend to like this, is I get rid of this indentation on the first page because it's just wasted space that could be used, especially on a lead sheet. And that way we're also accommodating that like full, the full bar width comparative to the things below it. So for this, it's just as simple as going to the page tool. And then we've got this little box here we can just drag over and remove that indentation. And that's it. And I'm going to always be saving. Always save. Always, always, always save. Command S, Control S. Every time you do something, that should be your next move. Okay? So once we have this going, we can totally get to writing now. And there's a couple of ways to write in Finale. One is better than another, maybe. It depends who you ask. So we have the simple entry tool and the speedy entry tool. Okay. Speedy entry is how I like to write. I think it's a little bit faster, but it takes some getting used to. So for today, we're gonna just use the simple entry tool. Now, in a lead sheet, in the beginning, you may have a baseline or something that you need to write, or some sort of like intro line that leads into the tune, maybe. So to write in that bar, we're just gonna select the simple entry tool, which is it just looks like an eighth note here in the palette. And then it's going to start at the beginning of the bar, right? And then we can select which note length we want. So that would be here in this menu that is at the bottom over here. You can also use the number pad to select the note length. So an eighth note is the number 4, quarter note is a 5, half note is 6, 7 is a whole note, 3 is a 16th note, 2 is, and so on and so forth. And then there's some ways to manipulate those. But for now, we're just going to write maybe some quarter notes, let's say. And we'll start with, just a simple, outlining a chord structure, perhaps. So we're going to write a 1-4-4-5 situation here. So a couple ways to actually input the note. You can use the keyboard and type in the letter that corresponds to that note. So you can write C, for instance. You can also play it on, if you have a MIDI keyboard. I have one here in front of me, so you can play G, for instance. And then we'll write an E. And then a C. Okay? Super easy. So that's one way to write in notes. The other way is with the speedy entry tool. And now you can see that it put this box up around that bar that I just wrote. And what I'm using now are the arrow keys to page over each beat that I'm working on. So we're in 4/4. There's 4 beats in the bar. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to go to the next bar to start writing, so I'm going to hit that right arrow one more time. Perfect. And now what I can do is, you can see I'm playing, playing, but nothing is coming out. Nothing's coming on the page. Nothing's being written. That's because in the speedy entry tool, you select the pitch. So we'll say it's a C again. And you select the duration using that number pad that we were using before. So it's sort of the opposite of what we were doing previously, where we pick the duration and then select the note. We're doing the opposite. We're selecting the note, then the duration. So we're going to write a C and then a quarter note. Excuse me. C and then a quarter note. And then E, quarter note. G, quarter note. And then you'll see when that bar is filled, it moves automatically to the next bar. Okay? So now we wrote 2 bars of music here that are in the key of C. We may want to write that this is a C major chord happening over these 2 bars. To do that, we can either select the bar and do we can select the bar, and there's a couple ways to get here. We can go to Tools, and we can do Chord Tool. We can go over here and select the Chord Tool. We're going to, in order to enter the chord, right, you're going to select whatever measure you want to start on. In this, we want to start in the first bar. Select the Chord Tool, and you can see our cursor changes to this like arrow cross looking thing. And now we're going to just type the chord. You can see, let me move this out of the way actually. So this is our tempo marking, but for this sake, we've got our chord tool. We want to put it over the first beat of the first measure of music. Go ahead and write C, just type it in, M-A-J. In this instance, we don't have any 7th. So whatever chord that would be, whatever it is, however crazy you need it to be, you can write it there. And then if we only need it if it's going to be the same chord over the course of the whole bar, we're going to just write C major and then hit tab. And that automatically moves us to the next bar. And now let's say this was a different chord. Maybe this was a G major 7, tab, right? Okay. And that is that easy to get writing in Finale. So in this case, we don't actually need the G major because it's the wrong chord, but that's all you need to do to start writing a lead sheet. Stay tuned for the next video when we actually get into a little bit of arranging, and we're going to move into how we actually write, how we structure a tune on a page, and some arrangement ideas that you guys may want to think about. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Hope this video was helpful to you guys on how to get started writing in Finale right now. And a lot of other music notation programs are the same. They have a very similar setup process. So I encourage you guys to jump in, get started, get writing, get your music on paper, so that way, other people can play it besides you. So thanks for joining me. Take care.